My wife cheated on me with our accountant, and now he's claiming he's owed $250, $0 in shared assets after we divorced. What started as an affair turned into a legal nightmare over property I thought was secure. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. It all started with a gut feeling I couldn't shake, then escalated into a mess I never saw coming. I thought I knew my wife, Emily, pretty well. We'd been married for 10 years, had 2 kids, a nice house, a good life, at least on the surface. But then out of nowhere, I found myself questioning everything. It was almost like some twisted plotline you'd see on a soap opera, but this was real. And the most shocking part, I caught her in the act. It all began a few weeks ago. Emily had been acting strangely, more distant, secretive even. She'd come home late from work more often, claiming she had extra meetings or client dinners. I didn't think much of it at first. She was always busy with her job at the marketing firm. But then I started noticing small things. Her phone always locked. She'd hide her texts, and she'd get defensive if I asked about her whereabouts. Little red flags, but nothing concrete. One night, I decided to check her phone. I know, trust is supposed to be the foundation, but I was feeling suspicious. I unlocked her phone when she was in the shower. That's when I saw it, a string of messages from a number I didn't recognize. The texts were flirty, suggestive, and they went on for weeks. But the worst part, they were about meeting up, about sex. It was clear she was cheating. I felt my stomach drop. My mind was racing. I couldn't believe it. After all these years, she was lying to me, sneaking around. I kept scrolling and found pictures she sent him, half naked, in our bed. The betrayal hit me like a punch in the gut. I felt sick, angry, and devastated all at once. I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. That same night, I confronted Emily in our bedroom. I told her I knew about her affair. Her face twisted into a bitchy smirk, like she was annoyed I had interrupted her fun. She lied right to my face, said she didn't know what I was talking about, that I must be mistaken. She called me paranoid, jealous, insecure. She said I was overreacting, that she loved me but was just seeking attention from the accountant, David, because she was bored. She insisted she had no intention of leaving me, that it was just a mistake, a fling. But I saw the truth in her eyes. She was lying. The shock was overwhelming. I felt like I was in some bad dream I couldn't wake up from. My mind kept circling the images, her messages, the photos, her cold denial. I was furious but also heartbroken. How could she do this, after everything we built? I kept asking myself what I did wrong, what I missed, how I failed to see it coming. But deep down, I knew it wasn't about me. It was her. Emily was a bitch, extra bitchy when caught, but I guess she's always had that side. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, replaying the scene in my head. I was angry at her, angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, and most of all, I was scared of what this meant for my future. I never thought I'd be one of those guys whose wife cheats and then blames him or acts like it's no big deal. But here I was, in the middle of a mess I didn't ask for. I knew I had to decide what to do next, but I was stuck. Part of me wanted to confront her again, demand she come clean, tell her I knew everything. But another part was just numb, waiting for the next blow to fall. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't just pretend it was a one-time thing or that she'd stop lying. I started digging deeper. I hired a private investigator, not because I wanted to ruin her, but because I needed the truth. And honestly, I wanted to see how far this went. Turns out, Emily wasn't just sneaking around with David. She'd been lying about the entire marriage, about her life. She'd been seeing him for months, maybe longer, and she was good at hiding it. What made it worse was the financial side. Emily had always been the responsible one with money, the one managing the household expenses, savings, investments. But then I uncovered some strange transactions. Large deposits into her bank account from David, payments to some shady online services, and a few unexplained withdrawals. She'd been funneling money, hiding assets, and I had no idea. It was like I was married to a stranger with a secret bank account and a whole other life. The investigation revealed more than just her affair. It uncovered a web of deception, hidden credit cards, secret trips, a second apartment she kept for David. The worst part, she'd been lying so convincingly that I started questioning everything. Was our marriage a lie? Had I been blind all these years? It felt like my entire world was crumbling. I was furious, but I also felt betrayed, humiliated. I had trusted her, loved her, and she had been playing me for a fool. Meanwhile, Emily kept up the act. She'd call me paranoid or crazy whenever I confronted her. She'd tell me I was overreacting, that I was just insecure. But I knew better now. I saw the receipts, the messages, heard the voice recordings from the pie. She was lying through her teeth. And her attitude, bitchy, dismissive, like I was some inconvenience she had to deal with. She'd say things like, "You're just insecure because I look better than your old ass," or "You're so boring, no wonder I needed excitement." That's when I realized she didn't care about me. She just wanted her affair, her secret life, her new freedom. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. Every day I'd wake up hoping it was all a mistake, that maybe she'd come clean and apologize. But no, she doubled down, acting like I was the problem. Meanwhile, she kept lying, gaslighting, and trying to spin it so she was the victim. I started to see her for what she really was, a manipulative, selfish woman who thought she could get away with anything. And that's when I decided I'd had enough. I wasn't going to be her pawn anymore. I began to plan my next move. I knew I couldn't stay married to someone like her, not after what I'd uncovered. I started gathering evidence, talking to a lawyer, and figuring out my options, the property, our assets, our savings. All of it was now in question. Because if she was cheating and hiding money, I needed to protect myself. I wasn't just fighting for my marriage anymore. I was fighting for my life, my sanity, my financial future. The more I learned, the more furious I became. I wasn't just dealing with a cheating wife. I was dealing with a con artist. And I was determined to take everything back from her, to make her pay for what she'd done. I'd never thought I'd be in this position, but here I was, betrayed, angry, and ready to fight. I knew this was just the beginning of a long, ugly battle, but I was prepared for it. I had to be. Once I had all the evidence I needed, screenshots, bank statements, voice recordings, I knew I had to act fast. Emily was still acting like she was the victim, throwing around her bitchy comments and fake tears whenever I confronted her, but I didn't buy any of it anymore. I was done playing nice. I scheduled a meeting with my lawyer first thing the next morning. I wanted to know exactly what I was up against and how to protect myself and the assets I thought were secure. The lawyer, a sharp guy named Mark, looked over everything I brought him. His face was grim, which only confirmed my suspicions. Turns out, Emily had been hiding assets, and the amount of money she was funneling into her secret accounts was staggering. David was claiming he was owed $250, $0 in shared assets after we divorced, which blew my mind. I knew they'd been scheming, but hearing it out loud made it real. That much money, gone or hidden, could ruin me if I didn't act quickly. Mark advised me to file for divorce immediately and to get a court order for an asset freeze. I nodded, feeling a strange mix of relief and dread. I was finally taking control, but I knew the fight was just beginning. Emily was a master manipulator. She'd deny everything, spin tailies, and try to make me look like the bad guy. I had to stay focused, stick to the facts, and prepare for the war ahead. I also started thinking about how I'd confront her directly, how I'd make her understand that I wasn't going to be her punching bag or her fool anymore. In the meantime, Emily's attitude only got bitchier. She started throwing tantrums, calling me paranoid, jealous, and crazy. She tried to gaslight me into doubting what I knew was real. She'd say, "You're just upset because I won't let you control me," or "You're so insecure, no wonder I needed someone exciting." It was infuriating. I could see right through her act now. She was good at pretending, but her true colors were flashing brighter than ever. I realized she'd been using her charm, her looks, her innocent face to keep me off balance while she ran her game with David. I also started to think about the fallout. How would she react when she found out I was fighting back? She'd be furious, probably try to turn the kids against me. But I wasn't going to let her manipulate our lives anymore. I was done being the fool. I knew I had to be strategic. I planned to serve her divorce papers that week, and I wanted her to see that I was serious. No more excuses, no more lies. This was going to get ugly, but I was ready. As I prepared for the legal battle, I also started to reflect on what I'd learned. Betrayal isn't just about the cheating, it's about trust, respect, and the foundation of everything I thought I knew about my marriage. Emily had lied, manipulated, and schemed behind my back for months, maybe longer. She'd been playing a game, and I was just now waking up to it. It stung. It still hurts. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I'd been blind, but now I saw her for what she really was, a selfish, manipulative woman who thought she could get away with anything. I knew that this wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about protecting myself, my future, and my dignity. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me, no matter how bitchy or convincing she was. I was done being the victim. I was taking control. I was going to fight for everything I deserved, my money, my peace, my sanity. This was just the beginning of what I knew would be a long, hard battle, but I was ready. I had to be. The day I served Emily with the divorce papers was one of the most intense moments of my life. I had everything planned out, had a process server waiting at her office, a quiet but firm delivery. When she saw the papers, her face twisted into something ugly, a mixture of rage and disbelief. She looked at me like I was the villain in her story, which I guess I was now in her eyes. She started screaming, calling me crazy, paranoid, and obsessed, like I was the one who'd lost my mind over her betrayal. Her bitchy attitude only got worse as she realized I wasn't backing down. She started accusing me of trying to control her, of being jealous, of trying to keep her from her true happiness with David. She said I was just insecure because she looked better than me, her words, not mine. Honestly, I was too angry to even argue. I just looked at her and said, "This isn't about control or insecurity. It's about honesty and respect. You lied, you cheated, and you hid assets. I'm done playing your game." That shut her up for a moment, but she quickly recovered, throwing more accusations and insults. Over the next few days, things escalated. Emily's bitchiness turned into outright hostility. She started gaslighting the kids, telling them I was trying to ruin our family, painting herself as the victim. She'd cry in front of them, saying I was abusive or crazy, trying to turn them against me. That was the most painful part, watching her manipulate our children like that. But I knew I had to focus on the bigger picture, protecting my assets, my reputation, and my future. Meanwhile, David kept pushing his claim for the $250, $0 in shared assets. He sent threatening messages, claiming I owed him money because he'd invested in our marriage, whatever that meant. He insisted that Emily was his woman, and that I was just a jealous, insecure husband trying to ruin everything. I could see right through him, just another manipulator trying to get a payday. I told my lawyer about this, and he advised me to prepare for a legal battle over property division. It became clear that Emily wasn't just cheating. She was trying to drain our assets, hide money, and screw me over in the divorce. The more I uncovered, the angrier I got. She'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. She'd carefully hidden her assets, kept her affair secret, and now she was trying to spin everything to her advantage. I felt betrayed on every level. I had trusted her, built a life with her, and she'd been scheming behind my back the entire time. It was like I was living with a stranger, someone who only pretended to love me, just enough to keep me quiet while she screwed around and tried to take everything I had. I also started to realize how much her attitude was about control. Her bitchiness was her way of trying to dominate, to make me feel small and powerless. But I wasn't going to let her. I was done being the victim. I hired a forensic accountant to trace every dollar she'd hidden, every shady transaction, every secret account. I wanted to make sure I got what I was owed, and that she didn't walk away with a dime more than she deserved. In the meantime, I kept a close eye on her. She was still acting out, trying to manipulate the situation. She'd show up at my house unannounced, crying, begging, accusing me of trying to ruin her life. I couldn't believe her audacity. Honestly, I was tired of her bitchy attitude, tired of her lies, tired of feeling like I was fighting a losing battle. But I knew I had to stay strong. I had to keep fighting for what was rightfully mine. Every day was a new surprise, a new twist. She accused me of everything, saying I was trying to keep her from her happiness, that I was controlling her. But I saw through her lies now. I knew her game. I knew she was just a manipulative, selfish woman who thought she could walk all over me and get away with it. Well, I wasn't going to let her. Not anymore. The divorce was inevitable, and I was ready to take her to court, to fight her for every penny, every asset, every piece of dignity I could save. I just had to hold on until then. The legal process dragged on, and every day felt like a new battlefield. Emily's bitchiness reached new heights, especially as she realized I was serious about fighting for everything. She started showing up at court dates, dressed to impress, throwing tantrums and trying to intimidate everyone. She called me a jealous, insecure loser, and told everyone who would listen that I was trying to ruin her reputation because I was obsessed. Honestly, her attitude made me more determined than ever to see this through. I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of this mess. Meanwhile, David kept pushing his claim, claiming he was owed $250, $0 in shared assets. He argued that he'd invested in our marriage, that he was entitled to a share of the property, and that I was just a jealous husband trying to keep him away from Emily. I couldn't believe how brazen he was. I had the evidence, screenshots, bank statements, voice recordings, and I handed it all over to my lawyer. We prepared for a nasty court battle over the assets, and I knew it wouldn't be easy. Emily was fighting dirty, trying to spin the story her way, but I had the truth on my side. Things got even messier when Emily started accusing me of being abusive and controlling. She tell the kids that I was mean and angry, trying to turn them against me. It was infuriating. I knew she was just desperate to cling to her lies. I stayed calm, kept my focus on the legal side, and made sure I documented everything. I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. I also hired a private investigator to follow her around, just to keep tabs on her new moves. I wasn't about to let her slip away with everything, especially not with her bitchy attitude and her lies. The day came when we finally went to court. I remember sitting there, feeling like I was in some bad movie. Emily sat across from me, her face cold and bitchy, throwing side glances and smirks like she was already winning. The judge listened carefully to both sides, scrutinized the evidence, and I could see Emily trying to look innocent like she was the victim. But I had the truth, and I was ready to fight for it. The judge ordered an asset division hearing, and I knew things would get even uglier from here. What really pushed me through was thinking about what I'd learned. Emily was a master manipulator, but I was starting to see through her facade. Her bitchiness wasn't just her personality, it was her weapon. She used it to intimidate, control, and lie. Her way out of trouble, but I wasn't going to let her. I'd been betrayed on every level, but I was also learning how to stand up for myself. I had to be smart, patient, and relentless. This wasn't just about money. It was about my dignity, my future, and making sure she didn't walk away with everything I'd worked for. The legal battle was far from over, but I felt stronger than ever. I knew Emily's true nature now, and I refused to be her pawn anymore. She could throw her tantrums, call me names, and lie all she wanted. I had the evidence, the law, and the resolve to win. I'd be damned if I let her take me down. This was the fight for my life, and I was ready. I just had to hold on a little longer. I knew the truth, and that's what mattered most now. The final hearing was the culmination of everything I'd been fighting for. Emily showed up, her bitchy smirk in place, trying to act like she still had the upper hand. She threw every tantrum she could, crying, yelling, accusing me of trying to ruin her life. But I stayed calm, focused on the facts, and let the evidence speak for itself. The judge listened carefully, reviewing the mountain of proof I had gathered. The bank statements, the voice recordings, the hidden accounts, and her own words caught on tape trying to justify her affair and her manipulations. When the judge finally made the ruling, it was a relief. She awarded me the majority of the assets, ordered Emily to pay back the money she'd hidden, and restricted her access to certain accounts. Emily's face turned a shade paler, her bitchy attitude evaporating into pure rage. She screamed at me, calling me a jealous, insecure loser and trying to ruin her, but I didn't care anymore. I knew I'd won the fight, not just over the property, but over her lies and manipulations. In the aftermath, I felt a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. I was finally free from her control, from her manipulative attitude, and from the nightmare she'd created. The kids and I started to rebuild our lives slowly, carefully. Emily moved out, furious and bitter, still trying to throw her tantrums from afar. But I had learned a lot from this entire ordeal about trust, betrayal, and what it really means to stand up for yourself. I realized that sometimes you have to fight hard to protect what's yours, even if it means facing the truth about someone you once loved. Looking back, I see how her bitchy, lying attitude was a mask for her own insecurities and selfishness. She thought she could get away with cheating, lying, and manipulating her way through life, but I proved her wrong. I learned that even when everything seems lost, you can find strength you didn't know you had. It's incredible how much clarity comes when you're backed into a corner, and I'm proud that I stood my ground. This experience has changed me forever. I no longer trust blindly, but I've become more cautious about who I let into my life. I've also learned that no matter how bitchy someone can be or how much they lie and manipulate, the truth always comes out in the end. And when it does, you have to be ready to fight for what's right. I'm still healing, still rebuilding, but I know I'm stronger now. I've faced the worst and come out the other side. And if there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this: never underestimate your own strength. Because even in the darkest moments, you can find the courage to stand up, fight back, and reclaim your life.